Why did you want this role, and how did you get ready to play someone like Jodi Arias?
You don't really. I mean, like, there's never, you never have enough time to prepare. There's not enough you can do to put yourself in that mindset. You always try to find ways that link you to the character you're playing, but at the same time, you know, I know that I'm a different person in many aspects, but that's my job as an actor, is to try and see if I can relate somehow, and then just kind of dive into it, because it all happened very quickly and the trial was still going on and I was still starting to get to know Jodi, and I just sort of dove into it.
Tell me about the day on set when you guys realized that Jodi Arias had been convicted.
I mean, it's so strange. First of all, it's a strange period to play a real person. It's like a very difficult endeavor. Any actor who's done it, I think, will say that that's like a big challenge, number one, to do it while the trial is still going on. And then thirdly, to watch the person that you're portraying on we were watching it on like a monitor on TV, because they were streaming the trial. And our first shot was like at 1:30, and at 1:30 she was convicted. It's such a strange parallel. Like, I don't even know if I've fully processed like what that feels like, but it was crazy. I mean, I expected it to happen to a certain extent, but it's always a shock. I don't know.
This trial was like a soap opera. Why do you think the world was fascinated with this story?
I mean, I think it had a lot of elements of, yeah, kind of like you said, a soap opera, just because, you know, there was like a torrid sort of love affair and lots of sex, and every single, you know, detail of their like intimate life was sort of, you know, put out in the open. You know, I guess I'd never really followed like a trial very closely, but I couldn't believe like how explicit everything got, and how detailed like the you know, explanation of all the things that they did together was. You know, I think people also are just kind of fascinated by how somebody who was presumably so in love with their partner could get driven to such an extent to kill them. I think they're just kind of, I think Jodi's a little bit of an enigma too. There's something kind of like fascinating about just the way she carries herself, and the back and forth in the trial, and all the lies, and just the way everything kind of progressed. I think made for really good television, and I guess that's why people are so attracted to her story.
How difficult was it to shoot the murder scenes?
It was really challenging. I mean, anytime you have a scene like that, it's difficult. I've also never been on the other side of that. I mean, I've been murdered in shows before, and I've always played the victim, but I've never been the aggressor. So to sort of like, to have the tables turn in that sense was very strange. We'd all seen so many of the autopsy photos and crime scene photos, and I'd seen them so many times that they were kind of like ingrained in my subconscious, or, you know, and so to reenact that physically, like in excruciating detail, was like really, was very emotional and very kind of shocking. Anytime you have to do that too, you know, I feel a lot of compassion for Travis's family, and I can't imagine, you know, what it must feel like to have to go through this whole spectacle of a trial, and to have a loved one murdered in that way. Like, I can't imagine what that must be like. So I kept thinking about like what they went through, what Travis went through while we were shooting it.
How do you think she will react to the film?
I don't know. I wonder if she's gonna see. I mean, I figure at some point she's gonna see it, or in some way, right? Because she has a Twitter account and everything. I don't know. It's very interesting. You know, the movie, again, like the movie is basically, you know, it's a love story going tragically wrong, but it's Travis and Jodi's kind of life together, how they met and how it progressed from there. So, you know, a great majority of that is fictionalized. We're sort of taking liberties with how we think, you know, their sort of story was together, but no one really knows. And I think that's what sets this movie apart, and what makes it interesting, is that people don't. Everyone's seen the crime scene photos and watched her on the stand and watched the trial, but nobody really knows what happened behind closed doors before all that.